Cowboys actually moved from their draft position at this point. We have a fresh new mock draft to discuss, thanks to our friend Mel Kiper Jr. 4.0 released today. Mel, take us through the top 3, and let's start right there with Cam Ward.
And we've seen this before with Joe Burrow, 5th-round pick going into his final year, goes number 1, right? Baker Mayfield, 3rd-round pick, goes number 1, and Cam Ward, same type of thing. 3rd round, goes to Miami with talent around him. Think about Elijah Arroyo at tight end, Xavier Restrepo catching those passes, and Cam Ward benefiting from that talent from the standpoint, maintain your creativity, but don't be as reckless and as careless. Got more time to throw the football, and he took maximum advantage of that. Then you go to number 2, and this is the tricky one because it could be Abdul Carter, could be Travis Hunter. I'm going Hunter, the wow factor, particularly on offense. They need juice, they need explosiveness, they need a guy who can create touchdown opportunities, and Travis Hunter can do that and prevent touchdowns and drives to end quickly on the other end as a lockdown corner. So, hey, it's 2 for the price of 1 with Travis Hunter. That's why he goes 2nd overall ahead of Abdul Carter, who goes 3 to the Giants. They have Thibodeau, they have Burns, but remember, Abdul Carter played off ball first 2 years of Penn State. This year unleashed off the edge, doubled his sack total, doubled his tackles for loss numbers. He can do anything you need to do. Inside, outside, he is a guy who is a fear factor player getting after the quarterback for the Giants. And then they can look to quarterback, as can Cleveland, maybe early in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Browns taking Hunter instead of a quarterback, so we'll see who would throw him the football. You have Shedeur Sanders out of the top 3, as we saw. Giants taking Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe early in round 2. Really interesting. What was your analysis of that?
Well, I think you look at Milroe and you say, okay, the talent. And Dano can speak to that, and Ryan and Fields. We talked about that on the First Draft podcast. Jalen Milroe is 6'2", 217 pounds, and he runs under 4.4, and he can throw the ball a mile. Okay, so he's got all the physical ability you want. The consistency. Great start, first 4 games. Phenomenal against Georgia. Then things started to unravel. Interceptions were rising. Touchdowns were coming back. Inconsistent, erratic, not accurate throwing the football at any level in some of those games. So he didn't finish strong, but the talent's there. And I thought for Brian Daboll, he fixed Josh Allen's situation. People were critical of Josh coming out of Wyoming, not accurate enough. Look what happened. Jalen Milroe needs to fix that as well. He wants to be good. He wants to put in the work, but he's a work in progress. He's a project. And for Brian Daboll, you get a mobile, tough, great dual threat quarterback. His passing skills, though, have to improve.
If I could handpick one team for Jalen Milroe, it would be the New York Giants in the 2nd round. This would be the ideal situation. Number 1, Brian Daboll's Alabama ties. I remember hearing Nick Saban talk about Jalen Milroe and said, this guy changes the game. I remember Brian Daboll talking about how Nick Saban told him the number 1 guy he could not stop in college over the past couple of years was Jayden Daniels. Number 2, and Mel hit it, the impact he'd had with Josh Allen, but mainly the quarterback run, and that gets me to point 3, which is desperation. They're desperate. And if it comes to a point this season where Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are like, hey, we need to do something to keep our jobs, I just sit there and go, if you got Jalen Milroe, you can go full Lamar Jackson rookie mode, where here comes 15 times a game. Because this young man, while he's improving as a passer, is an absolute rocket ship with the ball in his hands. I think he's got more talent as a thrower than maybe some of the inconsistencies of the season last year showed itself. He's got to get much, much better in the red zone. But this would be the perfect place for both the player and the organization.
Yeah, they have their bridge quarterback, right, RC?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the piece of it too, right? It's the consistency. You know, Mel and I were on TV this morning along with Field, and we were just saying, like, you pop on some of the tape and you're like, oh my God, like this guy's a top 10 pick. You go to the Georgia game this year, you go to some of those games down the stretch last year, and Nick Saban's last year, you're like, okay, this dude can really do it. And coming into this season, you were excited about all of that talent because this is what it looks like now in this league. A rocket arm, a big body, 4.3 speed, being able to do both things and put defenses in a conundrum. But he didn't do enough last year to say, okay, you can be a sure thing. Now you have Russell Wilson in the building. You have Jameis Winston in the building. These are guys that he can learn professionalism from. These are guys that he can learn the game from, adapt to the NFL locker room. And I believe if you can get him to be slightly more consistent, which we've seen Brian Daboll do with Josh Allen, you can have yourself a player. But it is a project.
Yeah, but without the pressure of having to start right away, that's key. So this is really interesting. Yeah, because what?
Go ahead. I got questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask him after.
Because we have a question too. Because if the Browns and the Giants pass on Shedeur Sanders, let's say the Raiders are sitting there at 6, and I know they gave Geno an extension. We just talked about how great a situation that is for him there. But is there a world in which they would take Sanders?
I'd be surprised. Let's think back to last year and what happened at pick number 8 overall. The Atlanta Falcons protected their Kirk Cousins investment with Michael Penix Jr. And at least I was sitting there saying to myself, what are you doing? You just signed Kirk Cousins to a $100 million investment. It turned out the mistake wasn't taking Michael Penix Jr., it was signing Kirk Cousins in the first place. I feel a whole lot different about Geno Smith in Las Vegas than I do in Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I think Geno's got a lot of good football ahead of him. And what's best case scenario if you draft Shedeur Sanders? He plays in year 3, so you've given Geno Smith $80 million over the next 2 seasons, which is probably fine, but not good enough to earn that 3rd year. Meanwhile, Shedeur has to wait 2 seasons to even see the field for a team that this upcoming week 1 will have the oldest coach in the history of the NFL. I think that's an indication they would like to get this thing on track sooner than later. I'd rather get some immediate return on my investment.
You can make the case for both the Giants and the Raiders when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. It's a worthy conversation. I would expect them to have it. I wanted to ask both Field and Mel, really going back to Jalen Milroe, because I think this is an important question. In comparison to the Anthony Richardson coming out of Florida, where he was a little bit of a project, inaccurate, but ultra physically talented, do we see Milroe the same way as a passer, not as an athlete or a runner, but just as a passer? How would you compare those 2 guys?
RC?
I think he's better. I know he's asking Field and he's asking Mel. I believe he's a better passer because he was more consistent for a longer period of time than we actually saw Anthony Richardson. I don't believe he has as strong of an arm, but when you watch him and his understanding of the pass game does seem a level above where Anthony was coming out, and he went 4th overall to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, Mel, what do you think about that as a comp?
I'll tell you what, they both are they're tempting. Because when you see them at their best, it's a wow. Because they can do everything. I mean, you look at Jalen Milroe in that Georgia game, the way he can run, he's a tough guy to handle. And his arm strength to get the ball at any point on the field. But seeing the field, maximizing everything that you're seeing from that standpoint, processing, and then getting the ball accurately to that receiver who can do the best he can after the catch is something he needs to work on. But the skill set is perfect. And the same thing with Anthony Richardson. Now, Milroe didn't progress. I got off to that great start, and then he kind of just, I wouldn't say faded, but it was just that erratic performance after erratic performance, and it wasn't fixed. It came up time and again, and that's why there was that pause to say, boy, I can't put him at 15, 20 on the board. I got to put him at 35, 40, 50. So that's where we are with Jalen Milroe. Developmental quarterback. You can use him right away because he can run like the wind. This guy is a dynamic dual threat right away.
This probably sounds damning for Jalen Milroe, given how the first 2 seasons of Anthony Richardson's career have played out. But I actually would pick Anthony Richardson. I think I saw a little bit more of the intermediate passing game upside for Anthony and a bit more of like a loose and live arm for Anthony as opposed to Jalen.
The looseness.
So much of his big play threat is either running the football or just 50-yard seeds down the field, which in time you can certainly develop more. But I think that's why the conversation is more towards the 2nd round than the 1st round for Jalen.
Can somebody just throw touchdowns for the Giants? I mean, they haven't had a 20-touchdown season.
Hey, you know what? That's a great debate,
since
though.
2019.
20? You
Think
said
about
20?
that. Just 2019.
20 games.
That's crazy. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live. The